The pool pump house with Ted Goodman, learning how to read the salinity and work the pool controls.
Okay, let me just go over a few things here. This is a saltwater chlorinator made by Goldline, and it's called an Aquarite, and it's an electronic chlorine generator. Now to read the salt content, if you go to the diagnostics here, it's reading now 2,700 parts per million salt in the pool. It shows you the power is on and it's generating, and if you have problems with it, if it's not generating, this light will go off. These buttons here, it says no flow. That means that the pump may not be on, or the pump is running too slow. And right here is a flow switch. So the pump has to be running, and this flow switch here tells the chlorinator that you have no flow. And we can show that by shutting this switch off here. No, excuse me, we would have to shut the pump off from the panels, which is this one. So the panels are off, and you can see we've gone here to a red light that says no flow. So there's no flow, that means the pump is off, or there's not enough solar to operate the pump. So this light will go to green in about a half a minute here. If you get the check salt light comes on, that means your salt is probably low, and that light will turn red. So now you just see we have flow through the pump, and that light is off. If the high salt content comes on, that means you put in too much salt, and you need to drain some water and get the salt back no higher than 32 parts per million. And that's why it's important not to add too much salt, add a little bit at a time. And if the bottom light comes on as spec cell, then what you should do is shut everything off and take these two unions off. Shut all the water off so you don't drain the pool.
Okay, where's the water shut off? These two?
There's the 3 valves. There's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, shut those off, and that stops the water coming out of the pool. And take this torque union off, and the one on the other side, and just open the cell up, and you'll see it's got some a series of grids in there. And if those have any calcium buildup, then what you should do is get some weak bichuric acid, about diluted to about 25%, and pour the bichuric acid through the cell to clean the calcium hardness out of it. Then put it back in. If it's clean, just install it back again.
Okay.
So right now we're showing 2,700 parts per million salt, and it is generating salt. Now to get it up to 3,200 parts per million, if we go to the chart here, it says pounds of salt or kilograms needed to 3,200 parts per million. Now the pool is a little less than 8,000 gallons, it's probably more about 6. So if we go down here, it says we're about 2,700 parts. So if we go to 2,800, it tells us we have to add 27 pounds or 12 kilos of salt. So that's how much you should add to get to 3,200 parts per million, and you should be fine. If this thing gets down to, say, 2,600, or even if it gets down to 3,000, don't panic, just add a little bit of salt, but never add too much salt, because then you're going to have to drain the pool. And that's about it. It's a simple device. And this dial here basically tells you how much chlorine you're going to put at the pool. And this is at 40% now, and that means the cell is operating 40% of the time. So if you want, say, 2 parts per million chlorine in your pool would be fine. And once you, if you measure it and say it's 1 part per million, then just turn this dial, say, up to 50%. And give it a couple days and check the chlorine levels again. And if it's at 2% or 2 parts per million, just leave this at 50. And that's something you'll have to play with to get your chlorine levels correct.
Okay, so how do you tell the parts per million?
you have to get a test kit
Okay.
and check with the test kit. And I'm assuming Victor has a test kit.
Okay.
And if not, I do have them in the office, or you can get them from a pool company. So we had that set at 40. I'm assuming the chlorine level was good. And when Victor gets here, we'll find out. That's it, and it's pretty simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Now,
another-
what about if we have 4 or 5 cloudy days in a row and there's no sun to power the pool?
Well, I think even on a cloudy day, this pump will run.
Okay.
You know, it won't filter as much water, but it should run on a cloudy day. We'll find later today when the clouds move over exactly how the pump works.
Okay.
And then another thing Victor should be testing is the pH. And the pH should be between 7.2 and 7.6. And if the pH is too low, he needs to add soda ash. If it's too high, mercuric acid. And generally here in Cabell, the pH will get too high. And the problem with the pH too high is that it helps form algae. So it's very important to keep your pH about between 7.2 and 7.4 is perfect if you can keep it about there.
Okay.
But these units work very good. Another thing we need to do is add stabilizer. And I'll be back out again, and I'll bring stabilizer for the pool, and I'll add it for you. And that should last, you know, for 1 or 2 years. And that's about it.
Okay.
Very simple.
Okay. Thanks, Ted.